Welcome everyone to wait, that's not the right button there. Got everything all set up and the wrong things on my screen. Welcome everyone to Talk with Sally. Hope everyone is having a fantastic Sunday. Oh, it never fails. As soon as I'm going to push play on the camera, my son comes yelling up the stairs, "Mom, come here." Okay, so anyway, with that out of the way, awesome to see everyone here tonight. We are talking about Operation Gladio, and we are really starting to get into more of the current day events after this episode. So today's episode is the new network. Last time we talked about how in 19 was it 78 and 79 everything in the Golden Triangle is disappearing. So they're no longer able to produce heroin in Burma, Thailand, and in that area. So they have to find a new place that they are going to set up their new network. Everything is falling apart, and you will never believe where they're going to set up their new network. Does anyone have any guesses in the chat as to where that might be? It's quite interesting. Welcome. And first of all, before we get too far into this, let's welcome everyone to our chat. Bucktail seems to be a new. Get back in here. Bucktail, welcome. I don't think I've seen you in chat. Call you Joe. Okay. Oh, Joe. I know Joe. Welcome. Welcome, Julian. Welcome, Traveling Fools. Welcome, everyone. Traveling Fools, you have your trivia night tonight? FYI. Yeah, I know who Joe is. As soon as he said my name is Joe, I knew who he was. Okay, now I'm not flustered. I'm trying to think if there's anyone new who doesn't know the background of Gladio and wants me to give them my 4-minute overview so that you kind of have a clue. So since I don't know who's in here, let's just go ahead and do that because I would rather err on the side of caution. I think I've got this pretty simplified down. So what we have through Operation Gladio is a network, you can call it a secret government, that was officially set up after 1947, after they disbanded the OSS. So if you think about the OSS was like a spy network and a group of people that would get intel, they would do coups, they would assassinations, bombings, attacks, propaganda on a mass scale. Well, it got to the point where they needed cover because what they were doing was not legal. So they formed the secret type government little system under the guise of the CIA. And the CIA can get away with just about anything if they say it's under the guise of national security. So what a group of people did, so Alan Dulles was one of them, they set up this network, and it was the CIA. What they would do, well, first of all, they needed funding. And what was the best way for them to get funding? It was to sell drugs and bring drugs into the United States. So they set this network, so they got the mafia on board. So you have all the mob bosses, the Italian mob from Corsica, all those guys bringing drugs into Cuba. Then from Cuba, we're bringing it up into New York City, into Harlem, because they were very racist people, and they didn't care what happened to the poor Black people in that area of the world, or in any area, but they target them specifically. So they get them to bring heroin into the United States. They sell that heroin, they get money for that heroin, and they had all of this huge network of elite people, bankers. And when I say bankers, I mean like not a bank me or you could go to, but only the elite high-end people could go to these banks and get out a loan. So they have all of this banking network system set out throughout the globe. So they would have this money that they would launder through all these different banks, and they would then go get bonds from Washington, D.C., and the mafia, the mob bosses, would bring it down to Italy, to Vatican City, to the IOR, which is the Vatican Bank. The thing about the Vatican Bank is it is the most private bank there is in the globe. They don't keep any records. Everything is burnt. You can't even subpoena them. So if any transaction that goes into there doesn't exist. So then they bring this money into the IOR. They then either funnel it to NGO groups or into various other banking systems that various people can take in and out. Before they do that, the IOR takes 10%. So that's how they make their money. So then you have now you have all the money dispersed. Then the CIA is going to go and buy weapons on the black market. And when I talk about guns, I'm not talking about like machine guns or pistols or a grenade. I'm talking about like rocket systems, rockets. There's going to be other kinds of handguns as well, but we're talking about high-end weapons that will do mass destruction. So right then and there in 1947-48, we have the industrial war complex facilitated. So they get those weapons, right? So they have the weapons. They fly these weapons over to the Golden Triangle, which is Laos, Thailand, and Burma, where they have poppies, and that's where they get the heroin. And they take the heroin back to the mafia, and the cycle repeats, okay? And what they do with this money is they have influenced different governments throughout the world pretty much to do their bidding. So if there is, say, they don't like what the United States is doing, they don't want the United States going and setting up industries, hiring their citizens for cheap labor, then they figure out how to get that person out of office, either through assassination, through coup, or other means. And it's very planned, coordinated. They fund both sides of most wars. Well, in our last episode, so they did this through Italy. They did this all through South America. And if you want all of the juicy details, I do have Operation Gladio. We are on part 9. Episode 7 repeats twice, but the second one I put 7.2 because I didn't edit the title. But they're all in a thread on X, so you can watch them in order. You can go through the whole history of it, all the details, all the players. So we are going to get into the Golden Crescent tonight. And we're going to start learning about how Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, like why was Afghanistan why was that important to us? Why did we have soldiers in Afghanistan since 2000? Was it 2000, 2002? Around that time frame? There's a reason for it. There's a reason, and we're going to find out tonight. So let's go ahead, like I always do, guys. We are going off of the book from Paul L. Williams, Operation Gladio. It is free on Audible on Amazon, so you can go get it and you can listen to it for yourself. What I like to do is I like to play a section at a time and pause when it's relevant and expand more on it and try to relate it to current days if we can, because that's the entire goal of doing Operation Gladio. All of our history stuff has always been able to bring it to the forefront to today. Because if every single person understood what Operation Gladio was, we would understand everything that's going on, every war, every supposed terror attack. If you understand this, you understand everything. In my opinion, like everything just clicked after I'm only halfway, 3/4 of the way through this book. And I have listened to lots of other speakers talk about this as well. But the way it's simply done has opened my eyes a ton. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to push play for 10 seconds, and then I'm going to pause it to make sure that you guys can hear it okay. And unfortunately, there's a 20 to 30 second delay. So I'll try to fill the void as we are doing a sound check. Let's go ahead and get started.
Chapter 12. The New Network. What is important to the history of the world? The Taliban or the collapse of the Soviet Empire? Some stirred up.
Okay. What do you guys think about the sound there? Does it need to be a little bit louder? Sounds good. Okay, perfect. And oh my goodness, Twitter is in, I got it before we start. Twitter is in an upheaval over Nick Fuentes being able to be back on X. And I'm just like, okay, that's like important for free speech, I guess. This stuff right now is the stuff they don't, it's like that. What is another distraction that they are going to keep us distracted from? Every time I see these little stories, even the riots at the colleges, I'm like, what is going on? Why do they want certain, and it's the high level accounts on X that have a huge following. Why do they want them distracted and focusing on Nick Fuentes? Because they're not focusing on other stuff. They're not focusing on other stories. I guess we'll find out pretty soon. All right, let's go ahead and start. This chapter is only 33 minutes long tonight, so we're only going to do one.
Up Muslims, or the liberation of Central Europe and the end of the Cold War. Zbigniew Brzezinski, The Grand Chessboard, 1998. With the fall of Saigon, the drought in Southeast Asia, and the eradication of the poppy fields in Burma and Thailand, the CIA set its sights on the Golden Crescent, where the highlands of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iran all converge, for a new source of drug revenue. Since the 17th century, opium poppies were grown in this region by local tribesmen, and the market remained regional. By the 1950s, very little opium was being produced in Afghanistan and Pakistan, with about 2,500 acres in both countries under cultivation. At the close of the Vietnam War, the fertile growing fields of Afghanistan's Helmand Valley were covered with vineyards, wheat, and cotton. The major problem for the CIA was the Afghan government of Nur Mohammad Taraki, who sought to eradicate poppy production in the border regions of the country that remained occupied by radical Islamic fundamentalists. This attempt at eradication sprang from Taraki's desire to unite all the Pashtun tribes under Kabul rule. The fundamentalists spurned such efforts not only because of their desire to keep the cash crops, but also because they viewed the Taraki government as shirk, blasphemy. The modernist regime advocated female education and prohibited arranged marriages and the bride price. By 1975, the tension between the government and the fundamentalists erupted into violence when Pashtun tribesmen mounted a revolt in the Panjshir Valley north of Kabul. The tribesmen were led by Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, who became the new darling of the CIA. The Muslim Madman. Hekmatyar made his public debut in 1972 at the...
Okay, so right there, guys. So they're talking about in Afghanistan. So the poppy fields have dried up in the Golden Triangle. So now they need a new place. Well, in Afghanistan, they have good land for growing poppy. The thing is the leader of Afghanistan at this time doesn't want poppy to be grown and to be sold. Well, at the same time, they do have a radical group. Do they say to the north? Is it north or the east? Northeast end of the country, where there's this radical group that does not like the current government. They want it to be very strict Islam rule or Sharia law, where they're wearing the headdresses, they're having the proper attire. So now, can you see where maybe the CIA is going to maybe recruit one group over the other to get their way? Let's continue listening and see if we can find out.
The University of Kabul by killing a leftist student. He fled to Pakistan, where he became an agent of Inter-Services Intelligence, ISI, and the leader of Hezb-e-Islami, an organization dedicated to the formation of a pure Islamic State ruled by the most intransigent interpretation of Sunni law. Hekmatyar urged his followers to throw acid in the faces of women not wearing a veil, kidnapped rival Islamic chieftains, and, in 1977, began to build up an arsenal courtesy of the CIA. The agency also began to funnel millions to the ISI, which became its surrogate on the Afghan border. The CIA believed that Hekmatyar, despite the fact that he was clearly unhinged, would be of inestimable value not only in undermining the Taraki government, but also in gaining control of the poppy fields in the Helmand Valley. Its faith was not misplaced. Throughout 1978, a year before the Soviet invasion, Hekmatyar and his mujahideen, holy warriors, burned universities and girls' schools throughout Afghanistan, and gained feudal control over many of the poppy farmers. The pro-Taraki militants, aware of the destabilization plot, assassinated Adolf Spike Dubs, the U.S. ambassador to Kabul, on February 14, 1979. Thanks to Hekmatyar's actions, heroin production rose from 400 tons in 1971 to 1,200 tons in 1978. After the assassination of Dubs and after the millions had begun to flow to Hekmatyar's guerrilla army, the production soared to 1,800 tons, and a network of laboratories was set up by the Mujahideen along the Afghan-Pakistan border. The morphine base was transported by caravans of trucks from the Helmand Valley through northern Iran to the Anatolian plains of Turkey. The Holy
So can you see how that? So this always just seems to work out perfectly. So 78, 79, they have a drought. The poppy fields are they're gone. Plus, Thailand, Laos. Why can't I just said the three names just a second ago. Oh my gosh, I just had a brain fart. Anyway, in the Golden Triangle, they didn't want to be selling and trafficking in guns and drugs anymore. So pretty much they said no more. But by the end of 79, they already have a backup plan. So they're already funding these terrorist groups in Afghanistan. They end up taking out the U.S. ambassador. So they're always planning. They're always like, okay, this is going to be a problem. How soon can we get this set back up? And it's usually pretty quick. So now 78, 79, this is 12 years before the end of the Cold War. So we're not quite yet into terrorist territory. We're still fighting everything in the name of communism. You'll see that once we hit mid-90s to 2000s, everything's going to be the war on terror. So they've got to get everything set up first.
War. In the summer of 1979, 6 months before the Soviet invasion, the U.S. State Department issued a memorandum making clear its stake in the Mujahideen. The United States' larger interest would be served by the demise of the Taraki regime, despite whatever setbacks this might mean for future social and economic reform in Afghanistan. The overthrow of the DRA, Democratic Republic of Afghanistan, would show the rest of the world, particularly the Third World, that the Soviets' view of the socialist course of history as being inevitable is not accurate. In September 1979, Taraki was killed in a coup organized by Afghan military officers. Hafizullah Amin was installed as the country's new president. Amin had impeccable Western credentials. He had been educated at Columbia University and the University of Wisconsin. He had served as the president of the Afghan Students Association, which had been funded by the Asia Foundation, a CIA front. After the coup, he met regularly with U.S. embassy officials, while the CIA continued to fund Hekmatyar's rebels in Pakistan. Fearing a fundamentalist U.S.-backed regime at its border, the Soviets invaded Afghanistan on December 27, 1979.
Okay, go back to what Joe was saying before in the other chat on Rumble. Yes, you're correct. The rebels were in Pakistan. So they were over in Pakistan, and they're going over into Afghanistan to cause, you want to call it terror or coup. So they just overthrew a different president. They're going to steal someone that went to a school in the United States. And when they say he is well-versed in Western civilization, meaning that he or she is going to go along.
The CIA got what it wanted. The Holy War had begun. For the next decade, black aid, amounting to more than $3 billion, would be poured into Afghanistan to supply the Holy Warriors, making it the most expensive covert operation in U.S. history. Such vast expenditures demanded an exponential increase in poppy production, which Hekmatyar and his fellow jihadists were pleased to provide. Afghanistan Delight.
Okay, so I kind of summed that up kind of early just because I realized that Joe was correcting me and he was right. And I just always I try to always give accurate information that's more important than anything else. So I like to course correct as soon as possible. And welcome, Still Life. Welcome to our chat tonight. All right, let's continue on.
The war in Afghanistan delighted State Department officials, including Secretary of State Zbigniew Brzezinski. Voicing the utopian vision of what author Chalmers Johnson called the military-industrial complex, Brzezinski wrote of the plans to control Eurasia, including Turkey, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. For America, the chief geopolitical prize is Eurasia. Now, a non-Eurasian power is preeminent in Eurasia, and America's global primacy is directly dependent on how long and how effectively its preponderance on the Eurasian continent is sustained. To put it in a terminology that harkens back to the more brutal age of ancient empires, the three great imperatives of imperial geostrategy are to prevent collusion and maintain security dependence among the vassals, to keep tributaries pliant and protected, and to keep the barbarians from coming together. Brzezinski and fellow members of his overworld, the elite group which puppeteers events to bring about a new world order, realized that the concept of democracy and freedom could never galvanize the scattered tribes and peoples of Central Asia. The people could only be unified by the cause of Allah, since they were overwhelmingly Islamic. The Holy War in Afghanistan, in the view of American geostrategists, offered many benefits, including the possible downfall of the Soviet Union and the possibility of gaining access and control over the vast natural gas and oil resources of Eurasia. Months before the Soviet invasion in 1979, the CIA launched Operation Cyclone, an attempt to destabilize the Soviet Union by spreading militant Islam throughout the Central Asian republics. Eventually, this operation would serve to create hundreds of Islamic terror organizations, including Al-Qaeda, Al-Jihad, the Ulema Union of Afghanistan, the Salafi Group for Proselytism and Combat, the Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, Harkat ul Ansar, Jamiat Ulema-e-Islam, Jamiat Ulema-e-Pakistan, Lashkar-e-Taiba, and the Al-Jihad Group. It would also give rise to terror attacks that would kill and maim millions of people throughout the world, and the dream of a new Islamic world order, which would be espoused by Fethullah Gulen and his disciples. The BCCI.
Okay, I'm going to share a map real quick because you know me. When we have maps, we have to go through and we have to look at them and understand what part of the world that they are talking about because I'm like you and I forget. So let's go to share this tab. Let's see. Why is it not? Oh, there we go. That's what I wanted. I want to make it just a little bit bigger. Okay, here we go. So right through here is the area. So we have this is the Eurasian plate. So we have Anatolian plate. So they're talking about this area, I think right through here. But I thought, why did I think Afghanistan was this way? Now I have to look and see what the map of, let's put me on big screen for a second. I want to see what that map of that area looks like. Because everything starts looking the same to me. Give me 1 second. I just want to look real quick. Really? So Joe in my other chat is saying that he knows someone that knew a CIA agent who helped the Mujahideen. I don't know if I say that right. Doesn't sound right coming off my tongue. Okay. Because they were saying Eurasia, but that was still a little bit higher than what they were talking about on the other map. Let's go back to this. Let's do a little comparison here. Three seconds. It's coming. It's coming. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should have made a slide if I was thinking earlier. Okay, let's go there. Did I not share it? Must not have. There we go. So here we have through this area, and then we have, so there's Italy. Okay, let's share one more map. Okay, so then we have this map. So then here we had Italy before. You can't really see this. Here's Burma. The Golden Triangle's over here. So this is all dried up. Before they were doing everything in Italy and using the Corsican mob to do everything. So now they're going to go Turkey. You have Saudi Arabia. Then you have Israel through here. Why doesn't it have? Oh, there. So there's Afghanistan, Pakistan, Kazakhstan. How come Turkey is spelled like that? Is that how? That's not how you spell Turkey. That's Turkey, right? Okay. So now I've got a mental image in my head of the players here, because it's important to know. I mean, look at how everything is through a waterway. Everything is really easy. So Afghanistan, Pakistan, you have Iran. So was it to the north? Yeah, I was right. The northeast end up in here is where they were growing poppy. Can you see that where I'm pointing? Hopefully you can. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I'd like to pull up Matt's. Is this projection accurate? It doesn't look 100% accurate, to be honest with you. Or are you talking to Julian? I don't know. You'll have to catch me up still if that was a question, if you're talking about the map or someone else. Okay. Muhashadin. Okay. Muhashadin. Thank you. Muha. It just had an I in it, so it confused me. So Muhashadin. Didn't think I was saying it correctly. What's up, Demon's Wrath? And thank you, Sanglot, for the help always. Maps. Yes, yes, Julian. All maps belong on walls. You are so correct right there. All right, let's continue with Operation Gladio.
Hi. In 1972, the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, BCCI, was set up in Karachi by Aga Hassan Abedi, a financier who had deep connections to Pakistan's underworld, the Turkish Babas, members of Turkey's underworld, and the oil-rich sheikhs of Abu Dhabi. It represented the ideal spot for the CIA to set up a laundry within the Golden Crescent. Thanks to the agency, the BCCI was registered in Luxembourg and soon mushroomed into a vast criminal enterprise with 400 branches in 78 countries, including the First American Bank in Washington, D.C., the National Bank of Georgia, and the Independence Bank of Encino, California. Virtually free from scrutiny, it engaged not only in laundering the heroin proceeds, but also arms trafficking on a grand scale, including the sale of French-made jet fighters to Chile and Chinese silkworm missiles to Saudi Arabia. By 1985, it had become the 7th largest financial institution in the world, handling the money for Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein, Panamanian strongman Manuel Noriega, Palestinian terrorist Abu Nidal, Al-Qaeda chieftain Osama bin Laden, Liberian president Samuel Doe, and leading members of the Medellin cartel. Prominent spooks, including CIA Director William Casey, made regular visits to the BCCI's headquarters in Karachi, making the Pakistani city the new haven for covert operations. The bank served the agency in a myriad of ways by paying bribes, providing young beauties from Lahore, and funneling cash for assassins. The enormity of the bank's operations was evidenced by its transfer of $4 billion in covert aid to Iraq from 1985 to 1989. For the Iraqi transfer, the BCCI made use of the Atlanta branch of Banca Nazionale del Lavoro, BNL, an Italian bank with ties to the IOR. Henry Kissinger sat on BNL's International Advisory Board, along with Brent Scowcroft, who became President George H.W. Bush's National Security Advisor. John R. Bath, an alleged CIA operative, became one of BCCI's directors. While serving the Pakistani bank, Bath was the co-owner of Arbusto Energy, a Texas oil company, with future President George W. Bush. Kamal Adam, a fellow BCCI official, served, according to the Kerry Commission, as the principal liaison for the CIA in the entire Middle East from the mid-1960s through 1979. Phony audits.
Okay, this is going to blow your mind. Okay, so why do we always have, oh my gosh, I didn't pull up a map until right now. And when I see maps and I see where our conflict has been all of these years, everything makes total and complete sense. So I'm going to pull this up right now. So we have, this is a map of the Golden Crescent. Let me go to where. So you can see it right here, guys. So they call it a crescent because it goes like this. So it goes all the way, what is that? Azerbaijan. So just in Iran, at the tip of Azerbaijan. What country is that right there? Holy crap, I can't read it. What is that? Anyway, but that's where the tip of that triangle goes all the way through Iran. And then we've got Pakistan, Afghanistan. Why did we have so many troops in Afghanistan for 20 years? So when they say that President Trump was trying to dissolve the CIA, and they're like, well, he didn't do it. He didn't drain the swamp. He didn't accomplish that. Well, he got our troops out of Afghanistan. What do you think they were doing there? Right there. Right there, you have it. You've got. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just blown away for a minute because this is blowing my mind right now because things make sense. You can put everything in perspective. Oh, Uzbekistan, thank you. So when you start to put things in perspective and why are we doing certain things? Right there. Right there. Okay, so I have one more map I'm going to show you because this is I don't know why I didn't see this map when I was doing the golden triangle, but this map is awesome. I have to take a screenshot of this right here. Did I not have the map? Did I not have the map on there this whole time? Oh my gosh. I'm just talking to a map to myself. I'm amazing, guys. I'm going to show you this one first and then I'll show you. You mean I have to add it to the screen and not talk to myself? Oh my gosh, I'm amazing. Just amazing some days. I love being human. Okay, so this was the golden triangle that I was trying to tell you guys about before. So we had Myanmar, which is Burma, and then we had the golden triangle. We had Laos, right? And they would bring everything down into Thailand, provide weapons here. Then they would bring it over into Bangkok to sell drugs. So that was a golden triangle, and that map is awesome. I wish I would have had that before. So then let's go back to the other map that I was showing you that I was just blown away with talking to myself on a screen. Awesome. I amazed myself. All right, let's share this tab instead. Okay, let's make sure it pulls up on my screen this time. How about that? Double checking. It's because I was scrolling through windows. Okay, so there's the map. Let's scroll up just a little bit so you can see it better. Okay. Okay, so this is where I was talking about. So we had Uzbekistan right here, okay, in this little area right here. And then we have this crescent. And this is what I was saying is we've had troops in all these areas. And this is where they are the best place to grow poppy is. So you have it go all the way through Afghanistan. You got the little bit of Pakistan here. So they have the guerrilla troops, or you call it the ISI insurgents, which was funded by the CIA, the United States, if you will. So looking at this map, to me, explains just about every conflict that we have had in this area of the world. And then, so let's make this a little smaller so I can scroll over. Come on, I want to scroll. Is that all the way to the end of it? Anyway, I wanted you to, oh, no, don't do anything. What did I do? Okay, I thought I did something. So right here is Turkey, because we're going to talk about Turkey in just a minute. Turkmenistan? Oh, I thought that, oh, right here? We have Turkey right here. No, that I wasn't talking about Uzbekistan here. I was talking about right here. So we have Azerbaijan, and I can't read that word right there. So that's not Kuwait, is it? So let's see, we have Iraq. Kuwait should be down in this area. No? Saudi Arabia. Screw Azerbaijan, in your opinion. I don't even know what Azerbaijan does. I don't even know what role they play in our world, to be honest. So anyway, that to me, why I was saying before is I was like, why everyone said that Trump didn't drain the swamp. Trump didn't do things to try to break up the CIA. But if you think about how they get their funding for most of the stuff they do, it comes from right here. So if we had troops in this area since 2022, so for 20 plus years, and he starts taking away their ability to make money, then he is in a way starting to do these things. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm going to push play, but I'm just an amazing, like my brain is just like connecting dots because everyone's like, well, he had 4 years to drain the swamp. He didn't do anything. But what did he do? He defunded WPATH, which is an organization that does the puberty blockers on a global scale, that funds abortions. He got rid of PATH, which is a United States thing, which is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And then we have this pulling out of Afghanistan and many, many other things, but no one ever talks about the things that he did that was gradually destroying the regime. So Biden ended the ban and started funding them. Okay, so Azerbaijan had a ban on the weapons. Okay, because that would make sense. If you give them to Azerbaijan, you could easily bring them into Turkey, which we have a huge Gladio presence in Turkey. But let's continue. Now that I have this map, let's continue with our presentation here. And now we have them to refer to. And I've got to take screenshots of those. I don't know why I couldn't find those earlier when I was doing stuff, but those are amazing. Okay. Let's just make sure. Okay, I've got Gladio up. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that for 5 minutes.
Although a cursory investigation would have uncovered the bank's engagement in issuing phony loans, making phantom deposits,
But it
and
was part of
publishing
Gladio, though,
false
Julian,
financial
is my point.
reports, Price Waterhouse, the prestigious London accounting firm, published annual statements, giving BCCI its unqualified approval. The Kerry Commission later concluded that the Price Waterhouse accountants failed to protect BCCI's innocent depositors and creditors from the consequences of poor practices at the bank of which the auditors were aware for years. In 1991, the BCCI, like so many other CIA banks, went bust, leaving a financial hole of $13 billion. Creditors subsequently brought action against Pricewaterhouse, claiming damages because of the firm's accounting negligence in excess of $11 billion. The matter was eventually settled out of court. Ironically, in the wake of this settlement, the Vatican turned to Pricewaterhouse to certify its balance sheets, a choice that journalist David Yallop characterized as bizarre. The CIA's complicity. In its opening statement regarding
so we have the Bank of Credit and Commerce International. I'm going to pull this up and let's read it real quick. Let's see, where is my other screen? Let's pull this up real quick. Okay, because you know me, I've got to know what things are, right? So let's read. So every time, Operation Gladio depends completely and solely upon the banks. So the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, BCCI, was an international bank founded in 1972 by Aga Hassan Abedi, a Pakistan financier. The bank was registered in Luxembourg with head offices in Karachi and London. So those are key. Why would they be headed in those two places? A decade after opening, BCCI had over 400 branches in 78 countries and assets in excess of 20 billion, making it the 7th largest private bank in the world. So when you have a private bank like this, only certain people, as you guys should know, can use this bank. So it's not an everyday person. So the governments, really large corporations are going to be using this type of a bank. So BCCI came under the scrutiny of financial regulators and intelligence agencies in the 1980s due to the concerns that it was poorly regulated. Really? A Gladio bank was poorly regulated? I'm so surprised by that. Subsequent investigations revealed that it was involved in massive laundering, money laundering, and other financial crimes, and had illegal gained controlled interests in a major American bank. BCCI became the focus of a massive regulatory battle in 1991, right when the end of the Cold War is coming to the end, right? 91, 92. And on July 5th of that year, customs and bank regulators in 7 countries raided and locked down records of its branch offices. Okay. That's enough that we need to know the history of that. Hi, 392 Super B. Welcome. Oh, you kind of missed a lot. I can do a recap at the end of this if you would like. I'll do a recap at the end. So try to catch up. Okay, I can do a brief recap without doing too much. So in 1978-79, the Golden Triangle is no longer an option for the Gladio forces to be able to get their funding. So they have to move everything somewhere else. So they go to what's called the Golden Crescent, which is Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Wonder where we've had conflict there, because it was great for both growing cotton and poppy seeds. So we just got over covering the BCCI bank, and they're going to cover that in this section. There's a brief overview. And then if you don't know what Operation Gladio is, I'd be happy to catch you up in a minute.
regarding the CIA's relationship to BCCI, the Kerry Commission maintained the relationships involving BCCI, the CIA, and members of the United States and foreign intelligence communities have been among the most perplexing aspects of understanding the rise and fall of BCCI. The CIA's and BCCI's mutual environments of secrecy have been one obvious obstacle. For many months, the CIA resisted providing information to the subcommittee about its involvement with and knowledge of BCCI. Moreover, key players who might explain these relationships are unavailable. Some, including former CIA Director William Casey and BCCI customers and Iranian arms dealers Ben Banerjee and Cyrus Hashemi, are dead. Others, including most of BCCI's key insiders, remain held incommunicado in Abu Dhabi. While promising in public hearings to provide full cooperation to the subcommittee, to date the Abu Dhabi government has refused to make any BCCI officers available for interview by the subcommittee. Former BCCI chairman Aga Hassan Abedi remains severely incapacitated due to a heart attack.
Weird.
Finally, some persons in a position to know portions of the truth have denied having any memory of events in which they participated and of documents which they reviewed. Turkey's deep state.
Okay, so just like every single bank that Gladio has a hand in, no one ever gets in trouble. No one goes. Very seldom does anyone go to jail. If they do, they're not in there for very long. They usually get out of their crisis. I'm looking at this history. Saying, were you talking the B at the top of the logo? So do I turn it 90 degrees? What is it supposed to be, though? Oh, I'm going to have to take a screenshot of that and rotate it. I'll do that in a little bit. So if you've been following Gladio, it's a lot quicker now that we know most of the players and we know how they operate. But the biggest key is, how are they gonna I'm sorry, I'm in complete shock right now. This whole everything that's going on in the Middle East has gone on in the Middle East. All the groups that they formed, ISI.
Establishing Turkey as the pivotal center of the heroin route from the Golden Crescent was a relatively easy task for U.S. intelligence officials. By 1970, the CIA had infiltrated the Turkish Secret Service MIT, Milli İstihbarat Teşkilatı, National Intelligence Organization. The full extent of this infiltration was made known by Sabahattin Savasman, the vice director of MIT, who testified, "The CIA has a group of at least 20 people who work together with the MIT and within the MIT at the highest level." He said that the agency trained all MIT personnel, provided all the necessary equipment, including a torture chamber, and paid all the bills. This payment would have been substantial since at that time the MIT employed several hundreds of thousands of agents, consultants, and technicians. Throughout the 1970s, the CIA also continued to train and support all members of counter-guerrilla, the organization containing all Turkish Gladio units, including the Grey Wolves. The recruits were trained at paramilitary centers in Ankara, Bolu, Kayseri, Buca, near Izmir, Kanakkale, and Cyprus by members of U.S. Special Forces, including the Green Berets. The key training manual, FM 3031, taught the secret soldiers how to launch terror attacks and to place the blame on the communists. The Grey Wolves, as the militant arm of the pan-Turkism movement, embraced the training wholeheartedly. They believed in the racial superiority of the Turks and the sacred task of restoring the Ottoman Empire, the latter belief necessitating the elimination of the Kurds from the southeast region of the country. By 1976, there were 1,700 Grey Wolves organizations within Turkey, with about 200,000 registered members and well over 1 million sympathizers. Wolves and Babas.
Okay, so hold on. It's a book Bible on a lectern. I'll have to look at. Oh, really? I'm going to look at that. Okay. I'm nerding out right now because when you actually look at a map and you start understanding the different conflicts and everything just starts clicking, I'm in this like, oh my gosh moment. Let's see right here. So I wanted to see what the map of Turkey. So this is Turkey, right? And I guess I didn't realize that Syria. So you have Lebanon right here. And then we have Syria. And then we have Jordan and we have Iraq. So we have troops in here. We have Turkey that is a root of, so there's Georgia, Eastern Tarus. And then this is where, right there, right in the tip right there. So it must have been Eastern Tyrus is where the Golden Crescent comes through right through here. And they go right over here, and this is where they're shipping everything out of. But Syria plays a role. Why did we have troops in Syria? Well, I know that we had. Was it uranium mines in Syria, or is it something else? I can't remember. I'll find out. Anyway. Very fascinating.
Abu Zer Urlu, Bekir Çelenk, and Hussein Çil were grey wolves and leading Babas, members of the Turkish underworld with strong ties to the MIT. Urlu, the hulking, shaven-headed, hard-eyed boss of all bosses, kept a crew of professional killers at his beck and call, including Mehmet Ali Auka, who later would shoot and nearly kill Pope John Paul II. By 1975, according to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, he controlled a multi-billion-dollar contraband operation partially financed by the sale of narcotics. Bekir Çelenk, unlike Urlu, had few rough edges. Smooth and worldly, he was fond of sexy women, good cigars, and baccarat, and served as the frontman for the contraband enterprise. By 1975, Çelenk was the owner of a fleet of ships registered in Panama and a chain of hotels. The mustachioed and sullen Hussein Çil represented the brains of the operation. A skilled accountant who spoke fluent Italian, he developed business contacts in Naples and Milan, which came to include leading members of the Camorra. These contacts granted him entry to Roberto Calvi, the head of Banco Ambrosiano, and in turn to Archbishop Marcinkus of the IOR. At the close of 1975, Urlu, Çelenk, and Çil sent Sami Duroz to Sicily under orders to make a deal regarding the opium they were now controlling from the Golden Crescent. The Babas awaited their emissary's return in a small Yugoslav town near the Italian border. When Duroz showed up with the news that he had failed to come to terms with Salvatore Riina and Bernardo Provenzano of the Corleonese clan, the Babas clubbed him to death, leaving his body in a Yugoslav hotel room. Within a year, they sent Cevdet Çil, Hussein Çil's brother, as their new emissary to the Dons of the Sicilian Commission. By this time, the situation in Southeast Asia was worsening for the drug trade, and the two parties came to a preliminary agreement. Grand Hotel. In 1977, meetings between the Babas and the Dons were held at the Hotel Vitosha in Sofia, Bulgaria. The Turks were represented by Urlu, Çelenk, and the Çil brothers, and the Italians by Raffaele Cutolo, the capo of the Camorra, Michele Zaza, the head of a Sicilian crime family and a Camorra deputy, Luciano Leggio, Salvatore Riina, and Bernardo Provenzano of the Corleonese clan, and Nito Santapaola and the Farrar brothers from Catania. Most of the Italian men of respect at the meetings were members of P2, and all were bound by a pact they made in Naples regarding the new drug deal. The Hotel Vitosha was an ideal place for the crime clan gatherings. The modern 30-story resort boasted a bowling alley, a sauna, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, several bars and a panoramic restaurant, chic boutiques charging Paris prices, prostitutes, licensed for foreigners, and a gambling casino featuring blackjack and roulette. The tab for the get-togethers was paid by Kintex, an official arm of the Bulgarian government. Drugs for arms. Kintex was formed in 1968 by top-ranking members of the Bulgarian Security Service. Its primary function was trafficking in illegal arms for right-wing Turkish groups, including the Grey Wolves, the Palestine Liberation Organization in Lebanon, and the government of Israel. With the opening of the drug route from the Golden Crescent, it became the first outfit to offer morphine base as payment. The firm was used extensively.
Okay, this chapter, this little section, I'm going to pause just a little bit more because I do want to show some stuff because I've never done drugs of any sort, so I don't know what these things are. So I had to Google them earlier today. So I'm going to show you what I didn't know. I didn't know what. Hi, Michelle. You're meal prepping. Way to go. I'm proud of you for prepping your meals. Let's go ahead and share the screen first, but I didn't know what morphine base was. So I've got to show you what it looks like. Here we go. How did that happen? Oh my goodness. I had it there just a second ago. How did it click on something different, you stupid thing? Did not click on you. Okay, let's go find it again. Hold on. Why are you not scrolling? What the heck? There we go. So this is what morphine base, they call it the Turkish way. So it's a way of boiling down heroin to make morphine. Is that what it is? Cooking heroin is the Turkey way. Okay. I didn't know that morphine was liquid heroin. Is that why it's so addictive?
By NATO and the CIA. In one typical Kintex deal, 459 rocket launchers and 100,000 missiles were shipped in May 1977 from the Black Sea port of Burgas in a Kintex freighter under Cypriot colors. The vessel was skippered by a Greek captain. The provenance of the munitions appeared to be a NATO naval base, and the probable customer was Israel. Dwayne Dewey Claridge served as the CIA station chief in Ankara at the time of the meetings. He allegedly worked with the Grey Wolves and Kintex and became a key figure in the arms for drugs business. He should have been aware of the activities taking place at the Hotel Vitosha and the alliance being forged between the Babas and the Dons, even though he makes no mention of this development in his book, A Spy for All Seasons. After the new drug network was established, he became the station chief in Rome, where he remained until the attempted hit on John Paul II. In accordance with the final agreement, the capos agreed to pay the Babas for the morphine with shipments of arms, including Leopard tanks, Cobra helicopters fully loaded with rockets and guns, and RPG-7 rocket launchers. The Turks could then sell the arms to insurgent groups throughout Poland, Central Asia, Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. These munitions were provided by the CIA from NATO arsenals in Western Europe and from Horst Grillmeier, a German arms dealer who worked for the Bundesnachrichtendienst, BND, Germany's secret service. The arms trafficking would be managed by Kintex in Bulgaria. Drug hub.
All right. Gosh, I'm sorry. This section is for whatever reason is like mind blowing, and my wheels are spinning, and I don't know how to put some of the things into words. They're always so. This is in the 70s. This is the exact same time as was it between 69 to 84? They started their different coalitions, their different raids that were going up through South America. So a lot of these things are happening at the same time. So right now, they're still setting up the cocoa leaves, that type of the production in South America, setting up the cartels. And at the same time, in the Middle East, they're rerouting and trying to figure out how to recoup or find a new place to put their heroin production. That is pretty much the whole entire goal here.
Operation at the start was tightly run, with Milan as its hub. The heroin base was smuggled into Italy by ethnic Albanians via the Balkan route, which ran from Bulgaria through Kosovo and into Albania, Greece, and Yugoslavia. The route continued to Milan, where Salah al-Din Wakas and Kahim Nasser, intermediaries for the Babas, had set up warehouses. The product was picked up at these locations by Nunzio Lamattina and Antonio Totolo in TIR, Transport International Routier, trucks, and conveyed to nearby ports for shipment to the Sicilian port of Catania. In Sicily, it passed into the hands of Giuseppe Calderone and Nito Santapaola, who trucked the morphine to laboratories owned by the Gaetano brothers and operated by Gerlando Albertini and his team of Corsican chemists. Once refined, the heroin was loaded on freighters and shipped
I'm
to the
rewinding
United
for 2
States
seconds.
by
Hold on just a
Stibam
second.
International, a
Hold on.
Milan-based shipping firm. Stibam was located at Via Old Alfredo No. 2.
My mouse battery must be dead. It's not working very good. I'm going to rewind for 90 seconds. I wanted to see this drug route.
In Western Europe, and from Horst Grillmeier, a German arms dealer who worked for the Bundesnachrichtendienst, BND, Germany's secret service.
It's your favorite dress,
The arms trafficking would be managed by Kintex in Bulgaria. Drug hub. The operation at the start was tightly run, with Milan as its hub. The heroin base was smuggled into Italy by ethnic Albanians via the Balkan route, which ran from Bulgaria through Kosovo and into Albania, Greece, and Yugoslavia. The route continued to Milan, where Sala...
Okay, hold on. So let's see if we can kind of see here. So the Golden Crescent comes through here, right? So right here, this little tip, it's really easy to get into Turkey. Then they're going to come all the way through over to Bulgaria. And I can't see, where is Milan? Let's blow this up just a little bit. So they go through here, Kosovo, Bulgaria. So they're going to go through Bulgaria, Kosovo. Why can't I see Milan? Ooh, there's Malta. So when they talk about when they're talking about Operation Gladio becoming the Knights of Malta, they have their own little island right here. And that's why it is so easy for them to be in private and have their meetings once or twice a year. Oh my gosh, why do I keep doing that? Sorry, I was trying to find Milan. And there we go. Now it's going. Oh, they didn't name all the little cities in there. Anyway, so you kind of get the gist of where their drug route comes. It's really easy to go up through here, go through Kosovo, into Bulgaria, back down. Why can't I see Milan? It's driving me nuts. Yes, exactly, Julian. And so that's why it's like the Knights of Malta, like every single big CI op, Rockefeller, I think Kissinger, all of them. The top left up in here, right? Oh, there we go. That's what I thought. Okay, so that's why, because I was trying to figure out their route when they were saying it just a minute ago. So we're going to go through Kosovo, Bulgaria, Serbia. Okay, so they're going to come up through this. Okay. I just assumed at some point they would take the water, but okay. Sorry, guys, you have to go. Hi, Cool Frog, welcome. So sometimes you guys have to go through this learning curve with me because I think it's more fun that way. Thank you for that, Jasmina D. Thank you very much. Sorry, I could not see the chat. That would have been easier to see a minute ago. All right, let's go back to sharing the book.
Aldin Wakas and Kahim Nasser, intermediaries for the Babas, had set up warehouses. The product was picked up at these locations by Nunzio Lamattina and Antonio Totolo in TIR, Transport International Routier, trucks, and conveyed to nearby ports for shipment to the Sicilian port of Catania. In Sicily, it passed into the hands of Giuseppe Calderone and Nito Santapaola, who trucked the morphine to laboratories owned by the Gaetano brothers and operated by Gerlando Albertini and his team of Corsican chemists. Once refined, the heroin was loaded on freighters and shipped to the United States by Stibam International, a Milan-based shipping firm. Stibam was located at Via Oldofredo No. 2, a building owned by Banco Ambrosiano. The firm was headed by 67-year-old Henri Arsan.
Remember the Banco de Ambrosio was the bank that Sindona, along with one other person, was trying to siphon off money from. It was a church-ran bank, and they figured out how to siphon off shares of that.
Known as the Playboy Mafiosi. Fond of gaudy clothes, gold chains, and loose women, the mysterious Arsan, whom various sources identified as either Syrian or Armenian, wore many hats, including that of a CIA operative. Another leading principal in Stibam was General Giuseppe Santovito, the head of Italy's military intelligence agency and prominent P2 member. Santovito, who played a part in the Mauro kidnapping, was later responsible for expunging all traces of the Turkish mafia's presence in St. Peter's Square.
Okay, remember the Mauro kidnapping was in the late 60s. Was the Mauro the late 60s? Okay, never mind. I'm going to have to push pause or push play. I thought, was that the first one in 48?
After the Pope was shot. Almost overnight, Stibam became a multi-billion-dollar concern, providing drugs to the American mafia and arms to a vast array of clients, including AK-47 rifles for the Nicaraguan Contras and American missiles for the Khomeini regime in Iran. One of the most spectacular of the Stibam undertakings involved its sale of thermonuclear weapons to an Arab nation, believed to have been either Syria or Saudi Arabia. This operation involved Glauco Partel, described in the Italian press as being a missile expert who worked for the National Security Administration, and Eugene Bartholomeus, a U.S. intelligence veteran who served the CIA at the Nugan Hand Bank in Australia. One stop.
Okay, so we did talk about Mauro. The dates were blending on me just a little bit. So the kidnapping of and murder of Aldo Mauro. So that was back in March of 1978, the day on which a new cabinet led by Guido Andretti, I'm just going to call him Andretti, was to have undergone a confidence vote in the anyway. So they kidnapped him, put him in a car bombing because he was going against the Christian Democrat Party. And so they kidnapped him, and I think he talked with Kissinger. And it came down to that ended up being they were able to tie that to the CIA and to Operation Gladio. They fumbled it up big time. But the dates of everything, they go back and forth into this book, and I keep trying to tie everything together because they've gone all the way up to 1984. And then in this book, they've gone back to 78 and 79. And previously they talked about this particular killing at the very, I think, chapter 2 or 3 of the book. So, and that event of Mara was a national trauma. That's when they were. I'll pull up slides. I'll show you. That'll be easier. I'll pull them up.
Snooping. For CIA officials and former spooks such as Ted Shackley, who worked for private intelligence gathering agencies like Research Associates International, Milan became a one-stop.
Interesting. Okay, there's only 5 minutes left of this. We're gonna get through this book, and I'm gonna pull up some of the slides just to tie everything together because they've repeated some of the stuff we've covered, but it ties everything in a neat little bow. Has there been no sound this whole time? Please tell me no. So for the last 5 this whole section, it's been gone. That's what I get for multitasking. Okay, I think it was let's try right here.
Stop Shopping and Snooping Center. They could visit
Sorry.
Arsan and Chelenk at Stibam to arrange for the shipment of arms to the right-wing guerrilla army of the day. Check on the latest shipment of heroin.
Did I go back far enough, guys? Let's just go back a little bit. We can rehear
Sale
it.
of thermonuclear weapons to an Arab nation. The Pope was shot.
Okay, right here.
Almost overnight, Stibam became a multi-billion-dollar concern, providing drugs to the American mafia and arms to a vast array of clients, including AK-47 rifles for the Nicaraguan Contras and American missiles for the Khomeini regime in Iran. One of the most spectacular of the Stibam undertakings involved its sale of thermonuclear weapons to an Arab nation, believed to have been either Syria or Saudi Arabia. This operation involved Glauco Partel, described in the Italian press as being a missile expert who worked for the National Security Administration, and Eugene Bartholomeus, a U.S. intelligence veteran who served the CIA at the Nugan Hand Bank in Australia. One-stop snooping. For CIA officials and former spooks such as Ted Shackley, who worked for private intelligence gathering agencies like Research Associates International, Milan became a one-stop shopping and snooping center. They could visit Arsan and Chelenk at Stibam to arrange for the shipment of arms to the right-wing guerrilla army of the day, check on the latest shipment of heroin to the States, provide Chelenk with the latest hit list, receive notification of any problems concerning the Balkan route, and receive the latest list of news from the Grey Wolves in Turkey. After exchanging parting pleasantries, they could walk down the street for a meeting with Calvi, Gelli, and Archbishop Marcinkus at Banco Ambrosiano, where they could discuss the activities of the shell companies the Vatican had set up in Panama, the needs of the Christian Democratic Party, the latest developments in the strategy of tension, and the concerns of the clerical couriers who were carrying suitcases stuffed with cash to the IOR. Few who gathered at such conferences were aware that the heady days would soon come to an end. By the end of 1983, Calvi would be found hanging from a bridge in London. Chelenk and Gelli would be wanted fugitives. Marcinkus would be a prisoner within Vatican City, and Arsan would be found dead in a jail cell. The heroin boom. But in
I think I went far enough back. I'm hoping that I did, guys. My apologies. I was looking for slides and forgot to add this back to the screen.
1979, business was booming. As soon as the freighters were unloaded on the docks of Miami and New York, the heroin was trucked to pizza parlors owned by the Gambino crime family in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. The parlors became the centers of heroin distribution throughout much of the eastern half of the country. The cash from the drug sales, deposited in amounts less than $10,000, would flow from CIA-controlled banks, including Continental Illinois, Castle Bank and Trust, and Bank of Credit and Commerce International, BCCI, to the IOR and the Vatican's chain of parochial banks throughout Italy. Eventually, the money laundering would come to involve many of the country's most prestigious financial firms, including Citibank, the Bank of New York, and the Bank of Boston. In 1979, the flood of heroin from Afghanistan inundated the United States, capturing over 60% of the market. In New York City alone, the mob sold 2 tons of smack.
60% of the market. That's huge.
Which registered a dramatic increase in purity. Heroin addiction in the States climbed back to 450,000. Within a year, street sales increased by 22%, and the addiction rate reached 500,000. Spoiled kids. The sons and grandsons of the mafia dons who had pioneered the heroin industry lived in extravagant houses.
Julian, or saying, maybe Cool Frog, you've been in here long enough. Did he already, is it Clydex weapons? Did they already talk about Clydex weapons? I was trying to find information on that, the information I had on it. Anyway.
Dressed in Armani suits, attended prestigious schools, and, strange to say, continued for the most part in the criminal tradition of their fathers and forefathers. After Carlo Gambino died of a heart attack in 1977, Paul Castellano, who had married Carlo's sister.
Did he die of a heart attack, though? I never know anymore. When someone says any of these big players that they say have died of a heart attack, of cancer, of anyway.
Became the head of the crime family. Thomas Costello, Carlo's son, became a capo in Manhattan, retaining the family's stranglehold on the trucking and garment industries. John, Joseph, and Rosario Gambino, Carlo's cousins, became the capos of the Inzerillo Gambino Spatola family. Paul Castellano's grandson, Paul, assumed control of the family's interest in illegal garbage hauling, while Frank Calli, a nephew to the Gambino brothers, became a kingpin in the Gambino's heroin trade. But members of this generation didn't want to soil their hands with the business of the streets. Things like debt collection, prostitution, extortion, drug delivery to choice dealers and customers, and murder were beneath them. For the most part, their opulent lifestyles gave rise to an unnatural aversion to bloodletting. And it became increasingly easy to find reliable Italian and Sicilian immigrants who were willing to pick up the slack, especially within the inner cities. The Albanian Mafia. The new drug network rectified this growing problem. The couriers who brought the raw opium to Italy in trucks by the Balkan route were members of the Albanian Mafia who did not flinch at committing random acts of violence. Within Italy, they began to perform much of the dirty work for the Camorra and the 'Ndrangheta along the coast of the Adriatic Sea. Eventually, the Italian Mafia no longer spoke of the Muslim Albanians as foreigners, but cari amici, close friends. Throughout the 1980s, the Albanian thugs became the chief perpetuators of drug smuggling, counterfeiting, passport theft, forgery, trafficking in human body parts, sex slavery, abduction, and murder. The influence of the criminal group grew to such an extent that, in 1985, Cataldo Motta, Italy's top prosecutor, said that the Albanian Mafia posed a threat not only to the people of Italy, but to all of Western civilization. New Gambino goons. The Albanians proved so useful that they were imported by the Gambinos to serve as their enforcers. Zef Mustafa became their chief clipper, assassin. Mustafa's capacity for violence was only equaled by his capacity for liquor. He drank from morning to night, often consuming 2 or 3 quarts of vodka a day. His skills were matched by those of Abedin Dino Kolbiba, who mastered the art of making bodies disappear. The ruthless indifference of the Balkan newcomers to murder was evidenced by Simon and Victor Dede, 2 Gambino assassins. They shot a waiter at the Scores restaurant in New York City to express their displeasure at the quality of the service. For good measure, they also shot the bouncer before he could utter a word of protest. The arrival of the so-called Muslim Mafia in Italy and the United States was an unexpected offshoot of the new network and the establishment of the Balkan route. By 2004, the FBI announced that the ethnic Albanians had replaced La Cosa Nostra as the leading crime outfit in the United States.
Okay. No, they did not go into the weapons today. I fell asleep while I was listening to this the first time, and so I had to go back and re-listen. But when I woke up, they were further along. So I always like to listen right before we listen to it just to make sure. Oh, you're welcome. So I like to know what we're going to talk about so I can make sure I can pull up images and that type of thing and to explain things to you, even though I have. So I don't like going too far in the book because I'm like, I confuse chapters and where we're at. But real quick, I've got to pull up a map of, I can remove, no, don't remove that yet. Let's replace it first. Okay, so pulling up a map of Albania. Like we all should know our world history, and I really feel like I forget where things are. It's good just to have a great refresher. So here we go. So we have Italy, obviously. So then we have Albania right here. So that's what they were talking about in that last section. So then we have Greece, and then we have Bulgaria, and then we go down into Turkey and then into Iran. But I'm still reeling, guys, from the Golden Crescent. Like right there. We have the golden, let's share this tab instead, but I'm just everything, the war with Afghanistan, just so many things are so I'm gonna have to put them into words, but everything, every war. So we have the Persian Gulf, we have Iraq, all of these wars. This is where they got the knives good, heroin, and in Turkey, they taught them how to make it liquid into morphine. Falling asleep while watching a movie. I did not fall asleep while watching a movie. I was listening to the audio. Definitely did not fall asleep listening to a movie. With movies, I can binge movies. That's why I watch them with you guys. Because I can binge and I can stay awake and force myself. But this George Goodell, I really like his voice. And he says everything in just about the right amount for me. Like his voice is not too monotone. But at the same time, why is that picture there? I don't want that there. Okay, so let's pull up a couple of these slides I have, and let's reverse this. I don't want there. That's what I want. Jasmine, I don't know if you've gone through. So I've covered Operation Gladio. This is part 9. We go through the whole entire CIA connection, everything, how it's all set up, how the banking system is set up, how they make their money. And basically, Operation Gladio is a left behind soldier in every single country that we've ever been in since World War II. The United States, along with the UN, has what's called left behind soldiers. So when I say Gladio units, it's they're ran by the CIA. Is pretty much it. And they get their money through utilizing the money they get from drugs, the mafia or the cartel, eventually the Vatican. Anyway, that's how we get into our NGOs, but it goes into really good detail. And we listen to a section at a time. And in the first 5-6 chapters, there's lots of slides because there's a lot of information really fast. And now at this point, guys, we're pretty much know the players of the game. For those who are new, I do encourage you to go back. You can either watch them on Rumble. They are in a thread on X. And I think when did I start watching them on here? I was a little nervous to do them on YouTube. And I decided the information is there. No, it's not that they don't learn from the past, Jasmine. It's not that they don't learn from the past. They have a goal. The goal is a new world government, and that's been the goal forever. And so, and it's not like this 10-year plan. It's been a centuries-old plan or a really long plan, and any time that their plan is derailed, they regroup, they restructure, and they come up with a new plan. But the goal is the exact same, right? Destabilize the Western countries. How do you do that? You destroy the family unit. You change the education system to go from logical thinking to emotional thinking, because when people are emotional, they are more easily manipulated. Why do you think that they've made our men, people call them soy boy? It's very intentional. Why? Because women are way more easily manipulated. They vote more Democrat, more liberal. And if you do that to the men as well, and you make them not critical think, and you make them think emotionally, then that's how they gain control. So they do that with the kids. So right now, with all of these riots, not these riots, but these protests that are going on these college campuses, everyone who is super, super upset right now, whether it be right or left or whoever, are those who are not taking a step back and taking a deep breath, looking at the 30,000-foot overview, saying, what are they trying to accomplish, right? So all these people are emotional. Anyone at the college age, because my son's 19, and they started implementing this stuff in about 2008 when Obama became president. And I know this because that's when the education system changed, because my son was going through school at that time. And I remember it very specifically because I was getting papers sent home with me telling me how they were changing the math program, how they were changing this program and whatnot. So in 2008, they started changing the education system. 2008. So we're 18, we're in 24. So 18 years later, not 18 years later, the math was completely bad. 2018, I can't do math right now. So we had 2018, 2019, 2020 plus 4 years. So 16 years. Sorry, oh my gosh. The roundabouts that time. Okay. So they started teaching. So anyone who is in college right now in this current time frame has gone through that whole Obama restructuring of the learning system. And now they go off to college, colleges have been liberal from its conception. Oh, thank you, Jasmina, sorry. So everyone in college right now has had, men or women have had nothing but emotional learning. They haven't been taught to think critically. So anything that's going on, if you're going to show them pictures of the devastation in Hamas, they're going to be angry, and they have every right to be so. And other people on their other hand are angry because of what happened from Hamas to Israel. So there's this whole, and I'm on either side. I'm neither one of those religions. I'm not from that area of the country. So I don't weigh anything. I look at it from the American standpoint. How has the CIA, along with these Gladio units, how have they infiltrated all of these school systems? And look what they're doing, right? It's very calculated. But if you take a step back and you become logical about it, then you see what they're doing, and you kind of laugh about it. And I'm not saying that those who are genuinely protesting are not there, because I do think that there are people who are genuinely protesting. But as we've learned through Operation Gladio units, what they do is they are trained. They are trained and they are funded. They're taught how to detonate bomb or terrorist prevention, right? So they're going to learn how to do terrorist acts. They're taught in how to infiltrate crowds or groups and to blend in and to be completely normal. They say, oh, we could smell a rat right away. No, I don't think so. Some of these people are good. You might smell out some of them, but they've all, and it all goes back to the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Soros. You take those people who are fun, and if you can find stuff online, like I've found documents where you can see who is funding these different protests, and they all go back to Soros, Bill and Melinda Gates, and they fund both sides, and they're trying to cause chaos. Why do they want to cause chaos? Because the end goal is the New World Order. The only way that they can run this in is to destroy the family unit. They've got to get us fighting amongst each other, so we're not paying attention. It's gonna be so miserable, in my opinion, that we are gonna be willing to give up our liberties. Go to the New York train station, right? They let all of these immigrants go into New York City. They're causing all of this crap in the train systems. And then what do? They bring in the National Guard. So you're either going to have mayors or governors like the New York governor Hochul, and they're going to bring in the National Guard no matter what, because they're going to look like they're the good guy doing you a favor after they cause the problem, and then they bring you a solution. Then we're going to have states where we're not going to go along with that because we're not stupid. Like, we're not stupid. So we're going to fight a little bit. So they're going to make it to where the crime is so bad. And this is just my opinion. Okay. You make your own decisions. They're going to make it the crime so bad and so unbearable that there's going to be people begging for martial law. There's going to be people begging to, please just lock us all in our houses. I can't take it anymore. Yes, just give me a tablet. My kids can learn school on a tablet, right? That's how it's all about getting control. And America's the last. There's two holdouts, actually. America's not the last holdout. Russia and the United States. The Christian societies are the last holdouts. So you got to destroy the family unit. You've got to make the kids feel like they belong to the state and not the parents. Therefore, parents who have morals, believe in Christ, or believe in whatever their morals are that are good, that are giving them a good moral compass, your kids aren't going to listen to you anyway. They can go and get transition drugs from somewhere. They're relying on a teacher if they're under 18 years of age to go and do those things. So that's when the state becomes more important than the parent. And even though the parent thinks they might be in control and don't know what the kid's doing, it's very intentional by certain people. And that's how they lose it. So you ruin the family unit. You change the education system from logical to emotional learning. Then you got to destroy religion. And then you can get control. And you make it to where I don't know what that word means. I don't know that word. I can't even pronounce it, Julian. But that's what I think everything is headed to. And if you understand Operation Gladio and Jasmina, I encourage you to go back and watch episode 1. I did take a 4-week break from Operation Gladio, only because I had such cognitive dissonance after I covered the South America stuff. Because to me, I don't know why it was so hard for me to learn of everything that they did, all of the operations, all the guerrilla warfare, and then what happened in Haiti and all of that stuff. I think I just needed a break, and I needed to reset my reality and reground myself, because to me it was just sad. And I don't know if it's because Brazil's like, I know people from Brazil. And Brazil's having issues. Their president and Donald Trump was it 1 year later, the same year, same issue, same coup with the governments, where Bolsonaro won the presidency, but they said that he didn't. Same with Donald Trump. They had a January 8th. We had a January 6th, and they are being censored way harder than we're being censored, and we're being censored. And we got to figure out how. I don't know the solution to this. The only thing that I can do for me is I can try to educate people. And I am constantly in spaces where I'm learning about Gladio. Like, I'm learning about stuff that we haven't talked about yet, because I want to be able to, even though I use a book as a guide, I'm doing extra research. The book is just to trigger my memory, to try to bring you more knowledge and to bring everything that's going on in the world. And to bring it home, guys, think of what happened in Israel, Palestine. I'm sorry, Israel. I'm not saying this happened, but Israel has really such a good defense system. I'm just parachuters and going through the fence. I don't. After understanding Operation Gladio, I just question it. I'm not saying my theory is correct, because I'm not saying it is, but it does make me question. And there's nothing wrong with questioning a narrative, as long as you're not like gun-ho attacking people, because you might think a little bit differently until you have more proof. Think of what happened in Russia. What happened with the the fake little bombing between Iran and Israel, right? What legislation were they passing through during that weekend? Like, we don't even remember it. I don't even hear anyone talking about those little fake little bombings that we had missiles flying overhead, and everyone on X and Twitter and everywhere else, not X and Twitter, but everywhere. Everyone's talking about that. It was gone by Monday. It was just like a little showmanship of saving pride, right? What are they doing in Syria? January 6th. What's going on in college campuses? If you understand how it works, guys, you can understand the world. You can educate people. And if you're educated and you understand, you won't have fear because you will know how to take care of yourself, prepare your family, be kind to others. Not everyone's gonna believe. Not everyone's gonna be, because they're not taught to be logical these days. They're more emotional thinking. And you can't, I guess my biggest thing, guys, is you can't shove. I don't know why I still have that map up. I was gonna show you slides. Don't need to do it. These slides, guys, are on my X, by the way. If you look up Gladio, you'll find them. But these are all the slides that I made. I'm trying to find the ones of the Pope. Oh, these are the little buildings in the 80s. So after everyone's addicted to heroin, they go through and so not only do they make money off of the drugs, now how are they going to make money after the fact? Yes. How are they going to make money after the fact? Oh, wait, we'll develop these. We'll get these people addicted on purpose. Then we're going to create these rehabilitation centers. We're going to send them to these rehabilitation centers, and then we'll get them some outside counseling, and we'll maybe figure out how we can get someone to cause them to relapse. And then the person who caused them, or clinician or whoever caused them to relapse, gets a kind of like a finder's fee, and then they go back into the rehab. It's just this evil, sick cycle. And I think that that's why I struggle with JFK Jr. It's because I know he owns rehab facilities. And maybe they're genuine. Not everything is a Gladio operation. And not every person that owns or does something is not attached to Gladio. So you have to pay attention. You have to see who their circle is. Who else do they associate with, right? I do not talk about 9/11 because that is banned hate speech. Still life. 9/11 happened exactly as our government told us it happens. And I should not be allowed on TV. I do not talk about conspiracy. What I do is I read books. There's this thing called books, guys. Everyone else gets things through Google or through whatever they get it through. But you listen to an actual book, there's actually information in there that you actually have to wait, and you have to read, and you have to decide for yourself. And at the end of the day, guess what? You get to decide what you believe. I'm never going to tell you what to believe. I can tell you what I believe or what my thoughts are, and I'll do that all day. I used to be feel like a crazy person for my thoughts. I've actually had other YouTube creators call me a conspiracy theorist, and they weren't being very kind when they did it. Just for questioning government narratives. Not saying not saying I was correct, and I wasn't making any, "Oh, this is how it happened." I'm saying it could have happened like this. Please prove me wrong. I don't think they don't allow us to question authorities anymore. And I think we're doing us a very big disservice. I've always taught my kids to question their teachers. And maybe that's why I have a really stubborn daughter at 22. And she's a little bit on the woke side, which I'm trying to unfix. But however, I did teach her to question things and to think. So when she's ready to think, she'll figure it out. I do know that because I did instill those qualities in her. Does anyone have any questions? I was looking for that. Yeah, so these were the bombings, Jasmina or whoever else was here. This is when they were bombing banks, when that priest, not the priest, oh my gosh, the prime minister of Italy, when they kidnapped him, Mauro. I was trying to find him. There was a bunch of stuff that happened at the exact same time. Let's see. Okay, this helps. So there's 1971, so that's prior to the time frame we're talking about. That was the years of lead. There's 74. We're almost there. So there's Aldo Moro. Okay, there we go. So in 1978, Aldo Moro, a prominent Italian politician and former prime minister, was kidnapped while on his way to parliament for the opening debate on the newly formed government of national unity. Moro was seeking to work with communists and bring them into the government. So Moro was kind of not going on with this Gladio narrative. He was, we can have some kind of a unity. So both the USSR and the United States were against the idea. So Moro wasn't going through normal channels that they could track and trace. In 1974, when Moro visited the United States, Kissinger, so 4 years prior to this, Kissinger warned him that if he didn't abandon his policies of bridging all the political forces in his country into direct collaboration, he would pay dearly. So Giulio Andretti, this guy here, so we have Aldo Moro and we have Giulio Andretti, visited the United States. Kissinger warned him, Giulio Andretti, the Italian prime minister at the time, instantly blamed the Red Brigades for the kidnapping. As a result, 72,000 roadblocks were erected and more than 6 million people were questioned in the search for Moro. So they kidnapped them, made it feel like it was the oppositional party, and that's how and I wanted to tell you this story because that is how Gladio works. You have the United States working with Andretti. They kidnapped this guy, his oppositional running mate, and they will blame the opposite. So the Red Brigade was the communist faction at the time, and they blame them. And they always, there's a couple of times where they've messed up. And when they mess up, the people don't, if they do spend any time in jail, they typically get out. And if not, they have put people in jail or prisons for 15, 20, 30 years until someone finds evidence that, wait, these guys are innocent. They should not be in prison. Think of I guess, I know I'm all over the place because we're done with this topic, but I get all over the place. But the thing that brings everything back to home, if you think of January 6th, and when the CIA and the FBI have gone before Congress, they have been able to say without impunity that he is not CIA and he's not FBI. But what he could be is a Gladio operative, which means he would be private. So Gladio is not government. They are privately hired citizens. So let's think of this. My brother-in-law was in the military. He was EOD. So he was in the Air Force. Very, very smart. But after he got out of service, he was in Afghanistan. He would go into Kuwait and that area, and he would detonate bombs. He would make sure that they didn't go off. So he'd go and cut the wires or whatnot. But after he got out of the military, he would have these private companies hire him, and then he would go and do the same thing, but he was making money, right? So a lot of times they're ex-soldiers that are getting paid more money than when they were actually in the military. Like he made like 2 or 3 times as much than when he was in service. So a lot of times these people are already experienced and know what to do. So when the CIA or the FBI says they don't work for us, they're not really lying, right? They might have been hired, but not employed. And that's when you'll see someone in Congress that's doing their job that'll actually try to dig deep and try to be like, well, okay, he does this, but then they try to figure out how they're connected. But so you take January 6th and you take Ray Epps. That's the only thing I can think of. Ray Epps. He infiltrated this group. He did. He should have been arrested. He should have been arrested, and he hasn't. And you have a lady that is 70-something years old that walked into this place and prayed for our country. She's going to prison. Her and her husband are going to prison for 2 years for praying. For praying. They walked in and they prayed. 2 years in prison. And they're like, well, all these people are like, they're taking plea deals. Well, wouldn't you take a plea deal? You're going up against the federal government. You don't have any options. I'd take a plea deal. You're either going to face 50 years in prison or take a plea deal and face 5. And you know you're in DC. You know you're in Washington, DC. You know that every single person is a liberal Democrat and they hate Trump. And anyone who supports Trump is a vile, useless eater. Tell me, I got kicked off of a freaking airplane for wearing a stupid Trump hat. And everyone can argue with me and tell me I had too many carry-ons, but that's bullshit because I've traveled the exact same way for 12 years. Okay. And this just happened last week. And I still haven't talked about it on my show because I'm still a little pissy about it. Need to be logical about it. And that was nothing. That getting kicked off an airplane and then rebutting my fight, but then booking me a flight for the exact same price for a later time, which was a ridiculous waste of everybody's freaking time. Right? That was a blip. That is a blip compared to what every single person who has been at the Capitol during J6. And I'm not saying every single person, I wasn't there. I don't know who actually did a crime or who didn't. I'm not going to judge. All I'm saying is for everyone to be their talking point narrative is, well, they've confessed to it. And no, they're taking a plea deal. So yes, I don't swear on stream, Bulldozer, or else I would repeat that sentence right there. F Southwest. I'm telling you that I have never been so discouraged at a thing in my life. Like, that's kind of goes, so getting kicked off the airplane, they're like, well, you shouldn't have had this many bags. Well, if I have flown the same way, I had a blanket. It was the blanket. It was the extra blanket and it was the hat. And the blanket could have fit into my bag. But I've flown that way for 12 years. And if something's been the same way for 15 years, and then all of a sudden they're telling you they're going to kick you, that you've got to put it in your bag as you're entering the plane and you're going to slow everybody up, why not let me just get to my seat so I'm not slowing down the whole crew? Because that's not my intent to be stubborn or to be a jerk. Not my goal at all. But if you question authority, now that's your if you question authority, then you're a bad person. You're being defiant. No, I this is what I've always done. This is what I've always done. So I could have probably said it in a nicer tone, like, because I was kind of irritated, but like it was dumb. It's like she's like, no, you cannot put that blanket inside. And I had a purse that was like this big that fits inside my over the shoulder bag. And I always leave it on my person so my hand's on it. So my ID doesn't fall out of it. Cause I can lose anything else, but I don't want to lose my ID when I'm traveling. Like, cause I want to get back, I want to get on the plane. And all I had to do was pick it up and slide it inside my bag on my shoulder. That was the issue. But she made me make everyone stop, pull off to the side, and I remedied the situation. And she calls a manager. And mainstream media has taught the general public to fear and think that Trump supporters are a bunch of crazy, violent people. And I'll tell you this right now, I have never, ever been attacked with a name by a Trump supporter ever. Never. Not once. Not once. And I don't attack people who don't think like I do because you're going to think however you want to think. I was happy that day. I had the best vacation I've had in years. It was amazing. Right? Anyway. So I ended up getting kicked off because I recorded the whole reason why. One, and this is what I firmly believe is I was targeted because I was wearing a Trump hat. And they had this perception from the way people talk online, the way that mainstream media talks, that they have portrayed these people as vile creatures. And I am a newly convert in the last 3.5 years to being a Trump supporter. Because why? I raised kids. I didn't pay attention to anything going on in the world. And when I did come onto media, all I heard was Trump, orange man bad. He said this. He said grab girls by the you know what and all this stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, did this guy really say that? I wasn't being logical. I was allowing to be manipulated by these mainstream people to judge a person based off of their external qualities and not by what they actually did, not the policies that they actually passed. And anyway, I went off on a rant, but it all ties into my airport experience. And so every time I tell experience, you're going to have to hear my road to becoming a Trump supporter because I was proud. My daughter said, I wouldn't even walked by you if I would have known you were wearing a Trump hat. I would have just said I didn't know you. And I'm like, we need to talk. You need some education. What's really going on in this world? You spend less time on TikTok. But anyway, that was a grab him by the bobs and Vagine. That's the perfect way to say that. Bill Dozer, thank you very much. By the way, guys, Bill Dozer is awesome. He has a channel on Rumble. Bill Dozer, put your link real quick into my brain, guys. My brain is gone. This is what happens when I like listen and try to study all day long. Put it into the Rumble chat and I'll copy it and paste it into. Oh, I don't know if they're gonna let me put it on YouTube. They've stopped letting me do that, but I might be able to put it on the Jumbotron. Let's see if they'll let me do this. For whatever reason, they have not been letting me do this. Let's see if they'll do it. But so this is Bill Dozer. He does political stuff and he breaks things down rather well. He's mostly done like 5-minute videos, but now he's broken the seal and now he's doing live events. I think he's doing them once or twice a week, and I want to support him. You should support him too. Because coming up and being a new person when you're being a creator and trying to get the truth out there, it's kind of scary and it's kind of hard. So that is the link at the bottom, guys, right there. So go ahead and follow him over there. He's also will live stream to X as well. Thank you, Julian. Thank you, everybody. What was I going to say? Bill Dozer, before I meant to show your channel, you made me think of something funny. Now I'm trying to remember what it was. I apologize for my rant, guys. I usually try to keep everything on topic, and everything is at the end of the day. I don't care if you're left or if you're right. We're going to have to figure out how to work together, because I think there's going to come a time we're going to have to rely on each other. And I'd waste less time attacking people. You can't force people to believe something. You can give little nuggets of truth. And when they attack your truth, you don't have to respond to it. And sometimes ignoring them after the fact is showing them kindness. Maybe they'll come around. Because, if people were rude to me when I was a Biden supporter, I want people to show me grace when I change my mind. And they have. They have. And I'll admit it. That's why I will admit my process to people. I will admit my process going on in my head, because that's, I think, exactly how they are manipulating us, our children, and our friends. All right. Like I say at the end of this, the whole goal of talking about this stuff is to educate and for you to realize that it's not the end of the world. Don't know what the answer is, but teaching and educating people, having a plan, having food storage, having your go bags, having everything ready just in case there's an emergency. That's the key. Have yourself and your loved ones prepared for the worst case scenario and never hope that it comes true. I don't know if people are like, is there going to be a civil revolution? I don't know. There might be. I'm not planning on it. I don't want to fight if I don't have to. It's not my goal. My goal is to educate as many people so that maybe we can do something. Also, guys, there's a Colonel Towner. I think it's called the Colonel's Corner on Rumble. I think she only does it on Rumble, and she does a lot of X spaces. But she's covering Operation Gladio, and her knowledge, she's further ahead than I am. So I thought I would take you guys through my journey, because you've got to start at the basics. And this is the first step. But if you ever want to know other operations that's gone on in the world, she's going to start doing country by country. And she would be a good person to follow. In addition, keep following me, of course, right? But no, but she does really great threads on X that puts together whole sections of information. She's really great. Do I have anything else? Is that it, guys? Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to. I don't even know if I made sense the last half hour. I sure hope that I did, because I felt like I was going all over the place. I guess my point that I was telling you for one sec is that I've always worried about what people think when I speak, and that has been my biggest challenge is speaking my thoughts without worrying about what other people are gonna say. Everything I do is with the best of intent and the knowledge that I have at the time. Does it mean tomorrow my information might change? And I'm happy to tell you that it does. And I will get things wrong, but I will continue to try to bring you correct and accurate information as much as possible. And I want you to come on this journey with me because there's a lot. There's a lot of cool stuff too with history. Um, I was supposed to start a show with Little Miss Jacobs tomorrow night, but she was supposed to call me today, so maybe we're not doing it. I don't know. Um, so plan on it. I'll have to put out a notification because thought we would have locked everything down, but it was going to be more about what did we miss on Twitter for the last week. So anyway, I will see you guys. Oh, by the way, there will be no Twitch streaming for a whole 7 days. So if you're looking for me over there to watch a movie and hang out with no politics and BS, well, you're not going to find me there because, decided to play Game of Thrones and there was a sex scene and it was just a really bad one. And in my head, I was like, yeah, I probably should mute this scene. I didn't. I should have. Should listen to my instincts. So next Sunday, well, I think I might have to wait till next Monday. Okay. Oh, and by the way, Bulldozer, I still want to do a show with you. I think it'd be fun. Either I want to interview you. So, okay, that's it. I'm going. I don't know why I'm still rambling. Okay, ending in 3, 2, 1.